because he was praying on the first row to show off to people. So the Imam said, notice, be careful that if you're at home alone, that's why Salatul Layl, Namaz al-Tahajjud is so highly recommended in Islam. Because you're alone in the middle of the night, people are asleep, no one's watching you, and it is a test for you. That's the second criteria. The third criteria is that when it comes to actions, when it comes to doing things, the Holy Prophet of Islam says, "Man qala la ilaha illallah mukhlisan falahul jannah." Whomsoever says la ilaha illallah sincerely, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants him paradise. However, the Holy Prophet says it comes with conditions. What are the conditions? This sincerity with la ilaha illallah shall stop him from performing anything that displeases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, abstaining from sins. So this sincerity should be a cause from abstinence of sins. That's number 3. And number 4, we shouldn't be looking to be praised. We shouldn't be out there wanting to be praised. There was an individual here in America, actually, I heard that a mosque was constructed. And 3 people, one name was Ibrahim, the other person named was Musa, and the third person was Kareem. 3 people who paid for the mosque, a mosque in the United States, to be built. Once the mosque was built and completed, the Imam came to pray the first namaz. When he came to pray the first namaz, he recited after Suratul Hamd, Suratul A'la, which the final verse of it is Suhufi Ibrahim wa Musa. Behind the Imam, who was standing? Ibrahim, Musa and Kareem. Notice, Ibrahim and Musa thinking, MashaAllah, the Imam has remembered us in Salah. Kareem is thinking, what have I done? Kareem is thinking, I must have displeased the Imam. So once they finished this namaz, Kareem goes to the Imam and said, Maulana, please remember us in your dua. That kind of attitude. That I have also taken part in the construction of this mosque. You have remembered Ibrahim and Musa. Suhufi Ibrahim wa Musa. The Imam recites the second namaz and he recites the same verse. This time Kareem thinks that he really hates me. He doesn't want to mention me. The idea is sometimes we're looking for praise. Don't look for praise from people. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will immensely give you reward if you do not look for the praise of people. Allama Ayatullah al-Udma, Sheikh Muhammad Al-Hilli, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on his soul, one of the great Urafa who passed away this year, he says you're allowed to show off. You're allowed to show off. But whom? Show off to Allah. Sit there between you and Allah, say, oh Allah, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. Don't show off to people. Show off to somebody who can reward you properly. Show off to somebody, to a being who has the wealth, who has everything, who can give you what you deserve. Don't show off to human beings who have limited capabilities, who at the end of the day will tap you on the back and will say to you, well done, and that's all that you're going to get. In fact, you will get punished by Allah if it is done for the purpose of showing off and riyah. Therefore, we need to appreciate this. And when we come to analyze, when we come to look at the sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice that history has ever seen, that of Sayyid al-Shuhada, Abu Abdullah al-Husayn, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. We find that today when we recite the ziyarah, Ziyaratul Warith, when we recite ziyaratul the Holy Imam, we say, Ya laytana kunna ma'akum. فَنَفُوزَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. O Imam, we wish, we desire that we were with you on the plains of Karbala, on the day of Ashura, so that we will indeed become of the victorious individuals. The question is, do we really wish to be with the Imam, or is it just something that we use the tongues to say? Because there was an individual, an alim even, who questioned this. He said, what was so great about the companions of the Imam? Because the Imam said famously, there are no companions like my companions in terms of virtue and nobility. Not even the companions of the Holy Prophet or the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So this Alim al-Din, in his dream, he saw himself in Karbala. He saw himself standing next to Imam al-Hussein, and the arrows were flying. And every time an arrow would fly, he would duck down, and the arrow would strike the Imam. Until eventually the Imam looked at him and said, now you question the sincerity of my companions when you cannot even withstand one arrow? The question we need to ask ourselves as we are commemorating the Shahada of Sayyid al-Shuhada in these great nights in the holy month of Muharram, this sacred month that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made from the Ashhur al-Hurum, the 4 Ashhur al-Hurum. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, first of all, this commemoration, this remembrance, this azadari needs to be sincere. We come solely to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to remember Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, because through the remembrance of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, their hearts become alive. Their hearts become enriched with the nur of Iman through the remembrance of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And the second thing we need to ask ourselves is, when we say, Ya laytana kunna ma'akum, if today the call of the Imam was to rise from the 4 corners of the Kaaba, hal min nasirin yansuruna, is there a helper who will come to our aid? Just like how 1400 years ago Sayyid al-Shuhada made that call, not for the people who were there, but for you and I. Will we answer the call and say, Labbayka ya Hussein? Will we say, Labbayka ya Sahib al-Zaman? Analyze and scrutinize our intentions in this night as we begin this journey in this commemoration of the martyrdom of Sayyid al-Shuhada, the master of the martyrs. Look at Karbala. You will find in there supreme examples, magnificent demonstration of sincerity. Every single person, every companion, every member of the Ahl al-Bayt, they stepped forward, they gave their life. But they said to the Imam, oh Imam, it's not only our lives we'll give for you, we'll give everything. And even if we're resurrected and brought back many, many times, we'll still give our lives for you. Because one of the most amazing, one of the most brilliant forms of demonstration of sincerity, of ikhlas, is to give that which is beloved to you, and that is yourself, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yourself is beloved to you, right? If you give it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have demonstrated sincerity. And these companions, these Ahl al-Bayt of the Holy Imam, they all did that so brilliantly. The young child Al-Qasim is asked by his uncle Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, how is this to you? Oh my uncle, it is sweeter than honey. Lady Zainab alayhi salam is challenged in the courtyard of Yazid. How do you see the action of Allah against your family? The lady says courageously and bravely, Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. I have not seen except beauty and magnificence. This is ikhlas. This is what demonstration is all about. Of the sincerity towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why when we look at the Imam and his decision not to give allegiance to Yazid, when Muawiyah passed away, when he died and he had placed Yazid as his Khalifa, some people say, couldn't the Imam just give allegiance and continue with his tabligh? No. The representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who was there in order for these values, these ethical principles. And in these nights, inshallah, we will be speaking about, the theme of the majalis will be about the spiritual and the ethical akhlaq awakening that you and I need to learn from the story of Karbala and the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Hussein recognized that it was not just simply giving an allegiance, although that was absolutely within any bounds, would not be possible for a representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as he famously said. However, it's all about upholding these values, these principles, sincerity, ethics, spirituality, sacrifice, altruism. When the message came to Al-Walid ibn Uqba, the governor of Yazid in Medina, that you go to these 3 people. Who were these people? Abdullah ibn Umar, Hussein ibn Ali, and Abdullah ibn Zubayr. You go to these 3 people and you take allegiance. And you take the allegiance from Hussein, even if he's clinging to the